Yeah, I don't have a joke about that. Anyway, Qingyi is the newest S1 character joining Zenless Zone Zeros Roster, and oh boy does she pack a punch. Although she is not a complete replacement for Anby in every case, she certainly is a very strong addition to your account's roster. So let's cover her kit and how to maximize her stun and damage potential, her best disk drive sets and stats, her weapons, her mindscapes, her teams, rotations and combos, and have a look at her pros and cons. Welcome, I am Rivenous and this is your complete Qingyi guide. Qingyi is an electric stun-type agent who excels at massive daze application and providing various damage buffs for the team, which rival that of a dedicated support. With a base stat of 118 impact, she ranks second among all current characters, right behind Lycon, and is tied with Anby. Let's start with her kit. Qingyi has a 4-part basic attack pattern with the 3rd and 4th hit dealing electric damage. Her basic 3 can technically also be extended indefinitely, however, doing so is a DPS and daze loss, so we kinda only want to charge it until this little flash appears, which is after approximately 1.2 seconds. That's not always true actually, but more on that soon. Anyway, doing so enhances her basic 4, which not only increases the daze and damage dealt by it, but also grants a significant amount of iframes compared to the non-enhanced version. After her B4, she can repeat her basic combo, but her B1 will be replaced with an alternative version. This is the first combo, if we want to call it that, we can actually do. B1 and 2 into B3 until the little flash appears, then her B4. Her dodge counter can also be followed up directly with her B3 as well, which gives us the second and honestly most applicable combo. Dodge counter into basic 3, charge until flash, then B4. Dealing any electric damage will also charge her flash connect voltage, which is her own resource, which you can see there in the top left hand corner. While she is below a charge level of 75%, holding her basic attack will have her perform a charged attack. However, when above 75%, her charged attack is replaced by an enhanced version called Enchanted Moonlit Blossoms, which launches up to 5 strikes forwards and ends the attack with a finishing strike. If you let go of the button early, she will directly use her finishing strike instead. When using her enhanced charge attack, for every 1% of her resource above 75%, the enhanced charge attack will also deal increased damage and daze. Her finishing strike can also trigger perfect dodge when used right before she is attacked. At Mindscape 1, a combo of dodge counter into B3 and 4 gives us just enough flash connect voltage, again that's her resource over there, to use her enhanced charged attack directly, which brings us to a 3rd possible combo she can perform, which is honestly also just an extension of the previous one, but again this one requires her Mindscape 1. Dodge counter into B3, charge until flash, then into B4 into enhanced charge attack. Without her M1, we will need to charge her B3 for around 0.6 seconds longer, but also please note that doing this will not give you the Mindscape 1 defense reduction bonus, since it requires you to have her flash voltage fully charged. Her EX special costs 60 energy, but can also be held to extend the duration and hence increase the damage and daze dealt for an additional 20 energy. Holding her EX special also extends the iframes you get from it, and I would recommend to extend it whenever possible. Her EX special can also be directly followed up with her basic 3 as well, which gives us a 4th possible combo of EX special into B3 and B4. Again, at Mindscape 1, this will also generate just enough flash connect voltage, again that's her resource, to follow up with her enhanced charge attack, which is yet another possible combo we can perform. EX special into B3 and B4 into enhanced charge attack. If you do not have her Mindscape 1, just charge the B3 a little bit longer. Combining all of the combos we have learned so far, a theoretical combo which is enough to fully stun some of the more boss-like enemies could be held EX special into basic 3 into basic 4 into an instant finishing strike to interrupt possible enemy moves, into a full basic chain 1, 2 and 3 and enhanced 4 into another EX special. This combo does have another problem though, which we will get to in just a bit. Also, when looking at this from a realistic perspective, most of the time you will just use your EX special and dodge counter whenever available and follow those up with the basic 3 and B4, then use your enhanced charge attack whenever available. Hello, post-editing ref here. So, due to the recent changes, she does not actually need the EX special at the end anymore to stun the enemy, but my editor did such a good job with these rotation graphics I didn't want him to redo all of these. So, That's all, I don't really have much more to add. So yeah, remove the last EX special, you don't need it. While I would personally not recommend using your Decibel on a stunner's ultimate, if you were to decide to do so, her ultimate alone also grants you enough flat connect voltage to follow up with her enhanced charged attack as well, which in total will inflict a significant amount of daze. Speaking yet again of her enhanced charge attack, let's cover her core skill. Landing a finishing strike on an enemy will apply 5 stacks of subjugation, increased by 1 for each rush attack done before. Again, these rush attacks are like these 5 little hits before the finishing strike. Triggering perfect dodge with finishing strike will also instantly apply 10 stacks, which means, at least in theory, we can apply a maximum of 20 stacks in one single enhanced charge attack. Due to skill issues, however, at least on my side, I think that expecting 2 fully channeled enhanced charge attack is way more realistic, and that means we do have to adjust our combos accordingly, because at least the last shown combo will not give you enough subjugation stacks. For comparison, let's make an example: EX special into B3 and B4, on the left without her Mindscape 1 and on the right with Mindscape 1. Since most of you will not get her Mindscape 1, let's talk about how we can generate the missing voltage the fastest way. And I already spoiled it before, but that is honestly just her basic 3. Without her M1, instead of 1.2 seconds, we will have to charge it for around 1.8 seconds. So basically, spamming her basic 3 is the best way to generate voltage, and her enhanced basic 4 deals more daze and damage than spamming her B3, but also generates much less voltage. Keep in mind that fully channeling her B3 for 1.8 seconds is not necessarily realistic, in which case we have yet another possible combo we can execute. And this one is her EX special into basic 3 into dodge counter into basic 3 and 4 into her enhanced charge attack. This will guarantee you more than enough voltage to always get it to 100% charge, regardless if you have her Mindscape 1 or not, while also providing enough iframes and interruption to the enemy to somewhat not get hit. Also, you have a dodge in there, so you probably shouldn't be hit. Which is the perfect segue to today's video sponsor. Myself. That's right, I don't have a sponsor for this video, but these videos and especially the spreadsheets behind take a lot of time to make, so if you already made it thus far, I would appreciate a like and a comment on the video, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet, so you don't miss out on future Zenless Zone Zero guides and more content. Thanks, back to the video. This already has been a lot, so let's finish up her kit. Adding any attack type agent into the team will grant her 20% increased daze and a flat combat attack bonus of up to 600 depending on your impact. You will need around 220 impact to hit her threshold, and that requires you to use an impact weapon, have her core skill at level 6 at least, and also use an impact main stat in partition 6 of your disk drives. Talking about disk drives already, let's get this out of the way, because we can keep it short. As a stunner, she wants 100% all of the impact she can get, and given her additional ability, that means she needs an impact main stat in slot 6, with crit rate, crit damage or attack percent in slot 4, and either electric damage or attack percent in slot 5. For slot 4, I would recommend crit rate over crit damage, but attack percent already gets pretty close. For her sets, a 4-piece Shockstar Disco is her set of choice, and it pairs well with either a 2-piece Swing Jazz, a 2-piece Thunder Metal, or even a 2-piece Hormone. They honestly all go well with her 4-piece Shockstar Disco, they all do fine, and it will not make much of a difference. Well, thanks to the recent daze buff she received on her basic 3, so yeah, she is not as reliant on energy anymore. For the substats, since we have used now all of our impact sources, aiming for crit values and attack percent is the best choice for optimal damage, with flat attack and flat pen coming in third place. For her weapons, her signature is by far the best choice, not only for herself but also for the team, as it grants a staggering 20% generic damage buff to the entire squad. If you are short on polychromes and already have Hellfire gears, Collider's signature weapon fares also really well, at least in regards to daze application, but less so when looking at her damage output. However, it is her next best choice. The Restraint and an R5 6-shooter, Steam Oven or even Vortex Arrow are more or less good free-to-play choices, being only about 10% behind her signature in regards to daze. Anby's signature weapon is even up with Hellfire gears and the Restraint in regards to damage dealt, but as Qingyi is a stunner, we want to mostly focus on daze, and we are looking at an approximately 20% worse daze application than her signature. For her skill priority, we want to get all the impact she can get and also all the daze application she can get. This means, looking at her days distribution chart, we mostly care about her basic, special and dodge. As just said, however, we can't neglect her core skill and also her assist as well, even though these are not reflected in the chart. Reason here being, depending on the enemy you face, the amount of parries will vary widely, and I cannot fairly reflect that in an Excel sheet. However, this leaves the final skill priority at core skill and basics, into dodge counter, assist and special, into ultimate. Next up are the teams. Before we talk about the teams, I want to talk about the two different kind of stunners we have in the game. Main field stunners and quick swap stunners. Previously I called them on and off field, but I think these names are more descriptive. Basically, stun agents like Qingyi want a lot of field time to get their combos for optimal daze application. Agents like Anby have higher energy regeneration, and most of their daze application comes from their EX specials. This means a quick swap stunner usually wants to get off their EX special and maybe a short combo like B1 and maybe then an enhanced B3, then switch out again and give the time to another unit. Hence, the main difference between both type of stunners lies in the amount of field time they allow for other teammates. This is also why Qingyi does not fully replace Anby. Actually, there is two reasons. That was the first one. The second one being that Qingyi relies on an attack type character for her additional ability, which means that disorder teams do not make a good use of her. So for a team like Grace, Piper and Anby, Anby will still hold her spot due to this sole reason. However, for a team like Grace, Anton and Anby, Qingyi fits in well and can replace Anby, at least in theory. Because Qingyi requires way higher field time than Anby does, this leaves less room for Grace to get her shot application going before the enemy is stunned. That means, while in theory Qingyi is the better pick for overall team damage, depending on how well you can play, if you do not allow enough time for Grace to stack her anomaly, Anby is still the better pick here. However, that depends on the player, and that means you. You also might ask why in a mono-electric team Grace wants more field time, since we apply enough electric anomaly anyway. Again, it's a mono-electric team. But the answer is because of how anomaly damage is calculated, and that is distribution based. Since Grace will deal the highest anomaly damage, we want her to apply most of the anomaly. But we will not go in depth here, that's an entirely different topic. So instead, let's review her Mindscapes, and not only does it make sense to start at the beginning, I already also talked about her Mindscape 1 quite a bit. It is very good. Not only does it smooth out her rotations a lot, it also grants a 15% defense threat for 15 seconds, which is very good for any DPS character. If you plan on spending money, you can spend a lot on her. Her M1 combined with her signature weapon are fantastic for overall team performance. Regardless, she also works extremely well without those, and you do not need her Mindscape 1 or her weapon for a very good performance, so please do not feel forced to spend money. Her M2 gives a significant damage boost to DPS agents during the stun window and also slightly accelerates her daze build-up, even if by just a bit. After all, you first need to get 20 stacks on the target, and most enemies will honestly already be stunned by this time. We will skip her Mindscapes 3, 4 and 5, although both M3 and M5 give you skill levels which are surprisingly good, since it allows for higher daze application and our sources on impact and daze build-up are limited. Her M4 doesn't matter, so let's talk about the M6 instead. While it grants her 100% crit damage on her enhanced attack, which is somewhat nice for her own damage, if you have played Star Rail, you know what 20% all attribute type resistance threat means. It is extremely good and very versatile. You can this is simplified but still, kind of think of this as an undiluted 20% damage modifier for the entire team. If you want to whale into a somewhat future-proof character, this is certainly a Mindscape to look out for. But again, just because it is very good doesn't mean you should sell your house or wife for it. Spend reasonably. In any case, knowing that, let's get into the teams where Qingyi shines. First and foremost, the most obvious one. Sujuan, Nicole and Qingyi built a fantastic team, and looking at Sujuan's damage numbers, we can see a clear difference between Anby and Qingyi. Regardless, Soldier 11, Lucy and Qingyi built another fantastic team where Qingyi replaces Kolida. Now we also have the possibility for Disorder, which is lovely, but in exchange we are not mono fire anymore. To keep this a little bit short, here are some teams I could think about, pause if you need to. That wraps up her teams, and that means we could now talk about her rotations. But we already did that. So instead of repeating myself, here's a quick overview of all the combos and extended rotations on one screen. If you want to know the reasons behind, please refer back to the kit overview and combo section, cause apparently you missed the first 5 minutes of the video, or 6 or 7, I actually don't know. Also, if you did, let me know in the comments. To wrap up the video, let's talk about her pros and cons. In my pre-release analysis, I said she is very free-to-play friendly, which is still kinda true, but I also somehow completely neglected the investment needed into her, even though I did mention that. So let me fix this now. Days application scales mainly of 3 factors: the skills Days MV, Impact and Days Build-Up. However, both stats are easy to acquire as there are mainly 3 sources for those: weapons for both, disk drive slot 6 for Impact and lastly possible skills. This also means that the only way to increase our Days application further is either get a better weapon or level our skills, with the first possibly even costing money. And all of that basically means we have to invest our battery charge into skill levels. So I apologize for that oversight on my part in the previous video, however her flexibility and all the other pros I listed still hold true. Qingyi is super flexible in regards to her team, and if you have already Anby built, her disk drive sets will do just fine on Qingyi. Her not being locked to a single type or faction also makes her somewhat future-proof, which is great. Also, while her skill level investment is pretty high, her investment needed for disk drives are honestly pretty low in exchange. You basically only need a 4-piece Shockstar Disco, a 2-piece Swing Jazz and an Impact Mainstat on slot 6. Lastly, her playstyle is not punishing dodges, and that makes her overall feel very satisfying to play, even rewarding I would argue. For the cons, her weapon is maybe just a bit too good for overall team performance, and while I wouldn't rate her difficult to play or her Mindscapes necessary, using her combos perfectly for optimal Days application might require a bit of practice, and well, her M1 is really good. And that wraps up the video. Thank you so much for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave me a comment on if you will pull for Qingyi or not, and if yes why, and I do wish you a great day. Peace.